Maybe we're doing it.
Yep, you're good.
Oh, okay.
It looks like we're good. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure.
Yep, you guys just give me a second.
Yeah, we're good. We're at,
There's a delay, so just hang on.
it may be for a while yet. All right, we got it. I just got to cite again. All right, thanks. Bye.
We don't have any more.
Yeah, it's right there. There it is.
About 10 seconds left.
Good evening. I'd like to stand and do the pledge at this time, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank all the veterans and their family tonight for the time that they have served or are serving. Sorry for a little bit of delay. I looked wrong with the video. We have one of our council members is out sick tonight. She wasn't feeling good, so she felt prudent that she should stay home. So that is Council Tammy Crawford. So first on the agenda was the Mrs. Kurt Moore estate. In the 11th hour, they have requested a postponement till next month, and I believe that that will be the 3rd of December. Yes, the 3rd of December will be the work session, and then the council meeting would be the 15th of December. So they requested time to be able to do some more studies and be more prepared to come before the public. So for that, I apologize, but that was their request that we honored.
Mayor, we need a motion to table that and accept it and official tabling.
So do we have a motion to table this until December 3rd work session?
Property is more property up to the 30.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor? Okay, thank you. In your packets, there is a alcohol beverage ordinance. Some of it will stay the same, some of the fees, some of them will be updated, but this packet allows for, if at some time there is a package store, that would be added to the alcohol beverage ordinance. So this is up to date. Most of it is, as I said, most of it is pretty much the same, but this would allow for distilled spirits retail package store, and it would be a $5,000 license. Buy the drink would still be $3,000. So all have an opportunity to read through that, and if there's any questions about it, please put those forth at this time. I believe they're on the website, and yes, they were posted there, and I believe they were sent to the ordinance.
So the one with the, by the drink is already in.
Yes. We've always had, or for some time, we've had the beer, they can serve beer and wine, and that is $500. If they sold it in a package type, then that's, they have that ability, that would be $1,000. I think that is one of them that was amended with this new, 3,000 by the drink, on premises. The big change is if there were a package store to entertain, and I've had 3 inquiries recently as to that as a possibility. I understand that's a considerable amount of work to get something like that. So I just see that it would be the city being prepared for if and when that ever occurs. Any other questions on that? Okay, the next thing on the agenda is an occupational tax ordinance. It's an ordinance to amend the city of Statham occupation tax fee schedule pursuant to section 34-30 of chapter 34 of the Code of Ordinance. Some of these, rather than trying to do when I looked at it, it's saying if you have this many, you pay this fee per, and if you have this many employees, you pay, and it becomes a mathematical nightmare for both the employer as well as for the city, because in some cases, you may have 20 employees and then 3 or 4 of them quit, because you're still paying that tax based on performance. So, it kind of, the numbers are more simplified so that if you have 1 to 10, you pay $200. If you have 11 to 20, you pay $450, 21 to 50, $700, and then if it's 51 or more employees, then you would get, contact the city and they would figure out what the rate would be at that point. But it just makes it more streamlined and more simplified for both parties. Are there any questions?
Home-based business is just $75 flat rate, and just not have a number of employees.
Correct. So that would be like an insurance agent, and the wife might do the paperwork. And one of the wife is the agent, and one of us is doing the paperwork. So, could you please silence the phone? Thank you very much. Any other questions in reference to the ordinance? Okay. The third thing is a resolution establishing findings of fact for variance application. The resolution formally adopting the findings of fact that the city council stated were the basis for denial of B-20-01 and B-20-02. This was voted on in the last month's council meeting. Councilor, would you like to read it or
I can still
explain it?
Sure. First of all, do you all have a copy of it? It wasn't in my packet. Do you all have a copy of the resolution?
That's what I'm looking for.
It wasn't included in the email.
Yeah. Does anybody want to hear? Did everybody, let me ask this, did everybody have an opportunity to review the resolution that was sent, is included in the email? Okay, so do we need to go get copies of these made before I explain?
I think so.
Well, while she's walking across, I can briefly explain what's going on. So, as y'all recall, at the October 20th meeting, there was, the council reviewed 2 variance applications from PKK relative to property on Lakewood Drive. Specifically, the variance requests were to change the front setback from 30 feet to 20 feet, and then the impervious surface setback from the stream buffer from 150 feet to 100 feet. During the city council meeting, council was very, very clear about its concerns relative to flood and development of homes on the property as proposed, and the impact of potential flooding on said homes. Our Unified Development Code requires that when we make when we take an action that is contrary to the recommendations of our staff, specifically Jerry White's, that we are required, the council is required to make formal findings of fact in its motion. And while the record clearly shows what those concerns were, this resolution is simply to ratify what was already said, make it formal, that these are our findings and these are the reasons why that variance was denied. It's more of a procedural, fixing a procedural miss than anything else. And really the operative part for your review, you should review it all, but the operative part is on the second page, paragraph that begins now, therefore. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. So the vote stands from the other night. And the ratification, is this kind of to protect the city, or I'm not sure what we're reading here.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. So again, our Unified Development Code, when it comes to variances, requires that when the city council takes an action that's contrary to the recommendations of staff, and you recall that Jerry White's recommended approval of the variance. When you take a contrary action on a variance request, you are required to make a finding as to why you have decided why you disagree with staff's recommendation. So this, again, I believe that the council already made that finding, made it very clear during open session, and I believe that the motion was made based on that. This is just to formalize what was actually done.
Forgive me, Counselor, do we need to vote on this?
Yes, you do. It's a resolution that has to be adopted by the full council. It'll only be voted on at the next meeting.
Okay, are there any other questions? What time for the reading?
I make a motion, we approve the resolution.
You can't vote on tonight.
Oh,
Councilman. No, at the next meeting.
No other questions then at this point? Okay. At this time, we have everyone should have a copy of the new final plat for Lakes Stadium, within their packets. And I believe there was new ones handed out tonight. Is Pacific Group represented tonight? Okay. Is there any thing that you would like to explain that may be different than the ones we've seen?
No, sure, we have the call for to come in on that short notice, based on the input, feedback from the August meeting. We took what was currently the submitted plan, adjusted accordingly to the comments you would all have provided to us. And additionally, added the two notes that we had discussed in reference to the line rating. Make sure to leave the amenities notes as they were. And it eliminated 6 lots that were just on the configuration that will allow for building.
Rather than ask for the variance.
Correct. Again, completely.
Any questions for Richard? For Ray? My apologies. Brain cramp for a second.
There's no magic on this plat, is that correct?
Correct. This is we took it from the last submitted plan. There is a note, on the cover sheet, note number 28, which references the requirement of the pool, parking, and athletic facility.
Provide for a pool, parking, athletic facility, common area. And that will be the 42nd permit pool. Correct. So an update for Lakes Stadium and Pacific Group. They did, as required, they did the pressure test after countless repairs, I guess. They did have a successful pressure test, which was required by the city because of the length of time between being idle and trying to bring this back to life. The chlorination was done and 4 bacteria tests which passed. And there were lateral lines that were cameras. Our public works director, Jordan McDaniels, has that footage, has not had a chance to review it all, but so far he doesn't have a problem with it. There are a couple of small things which he can get together with either you or your designee tomorrow. You would reach out to him, and he doesn't want to have things that would need to be taken care of. The primary things I've already discussed that we required and were non-negotiable. achieve that. Pacific Group has, given the city, the $1,000 required fee to reapply for a final plat. And they also have, supplied the checks for the bonds that are also required by the city prior to moving forward. So far, everything is, I think, falling into line. And, you know, if you would, work with Jordan to make sure these little things that, you know, will need to be done and probably will be done as you're progressing through. But he has the list, and if you would reach out tomorrow, and work with him on that. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Cooper? Or any concerns of this plat?
There's an issue, I live close to this.
Yeah.
And, my neighbor asked me to talk with you tonight about an issue on one of the lots.
Okay.
That abuts his property, but I'll talk to you privately afterwards.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Mr. Cooper, can you show me where the pool area, the common area is going to be?
Yes. It's in the same location as, it's the only area called common area. All of the spaces are referred to as open space. So it is adjacent to 6 and 1 is in the exact same location as 363, which was found as far as the location.